The experience that gives rise to the personal I, which gives rise to the creation of ego, is the sensation of being separated for the first time. And I'm speaking about being separated from mom at birth. And you should have already seen the previous videos if you're this far along. So if not, please go back and get what I'm talking about. The I am separate, it's a little too close. And the personal I that we typically deal with is actually the reasons for why we were separated. And the reason that we came up with, due to a lack of information, was that we are not good enough, or not wanted, or not smart enough, not pretty enough, not lovable enough. Um, there's probably 1,000 different personal lies out there, which are reasons for why we were, or reasons why we had to endure that forced separation. However, these really fall in on themselves. And if you notice, somebody who feels that they're not intelligent enough, and that's one of my lies, I'm not intelligent enough. What is it about not being intelligent that makes it bad? Well, not being intelligent isn't good enough, right? And if we feel like we're not pretty enough, well, then if we're not pretty enough, then we're not good enough to be a model. And if you're not smart enough, then you're not good enough to go to college. And if you're not wanted, well, that means you're not good enough to go to that party, or not good enough to get a job at that company, right? From my perspective, I just believe that most, if not all, and by all I mean maybe 99% of the possible personal lies out there, most of them, this 99%, will reduce down to I'm not good enough. And years ago, decade, 15, 20 years ago, I used to perceive I'm not good enough as a bit of a demon, because, it can be demonic. And so I named the demon Ingi. I'm not good enough. And this is just to make light of, a rather crazy situation. This demon is incestuous. It falls in on itself, and it's probably been driving you crazy, because its job is to prevent change. And here we are in this workshop, and we're looking to prevent change, or we're looking to unravel that mechanism that prevents change. And how we do that is by acknowledging or letting go of the personal I. However, there's always going to be a response column. Now, response column is, what's the response to your action or to your thought? And, if you go to let go of feeling not wanted, you might get this response back of, well, is that really going to be good enough for you to let go of the personal I? Is, you might, while you're doing the stream meditation, you might hear, the voice might say, well, you sure this meditation is good enough to get you to let go those old thoughts and reclaim that energy? But you know what? That is a thought designed to prevent change, and you get to put that into a boat and watch it go down the stream. And when you're breathing, you might get the response in your mind, in your heart, of, well, is this breathing, is this rhythm really enough to get me to let this stuff go and to feel good? And what will happen is, well, yeah, it is good enough for that. But if you don't believe it, what will inevitably happen is you'll try to make it good enough. And if we're talking about the breathing that needs to be good enough, then you might start hyperventilating. You might start over breathing your body, right? To get like a better rhythm or more oxygen, more energy, and try to move it faster. And that doesn't work. That is a reaction to feeling not good enough. And the response to feeling not good enough is actually to simply acknowledge, oh, I'm feeling not good enough. And don't do anything about it. Just acknowledge it. This falling in on itself is what you get to see. And you get to notice that, your wheels are going to start spinning. So if I'm not good enough and this exercise isn't good enough and this breathing isn't good enough to get me off my crap that makes me feel not good enough, I'm never going to be good enough. You know, it's a crazy vicious cycle, and actually, if you slow it down and pay attention to it, you'll notice that it makes no sense. It's counting on you to not look at it though. So if you just take that nice calm breath, you know, and look at that thought and put it in the boat, watch it go down the stream, and notice what's left over, you'll get that what's left over is you in silence. And getting to that place is simply about knowing that the personal I shows up when change is showing up. So instead of panicking when you meet that border guard, the ego, what we get to do now is look for where the change is. Look for where the change is and embrace it and notice that you want it and notice that it's good enough. And you know what? Ego just will not be able to counteract that, because once you embrace something, right, and make it part of yourself and make it familiar, then it's no longer a part of change. Now it's just part of the familiar and the normal. So that's what we're shooting for, and I hope this makes sense. It's a little bit off the top of my head, but aren't they all? Thank you. We'll see you hopefully in a few minutes.